Rabbi Sager is in Chicago this weekend, and so I taught our Mishnah group, and we went over a comment of the Kli Yakar on a verse that got a little bit technical. I'm going to try and teach it a little bit more, and maybe to shed some light on why I think it's important and spoke to me. It is a comment on the second verse of this week's Torah portion, Vayifga b'makom, that Jacob encounters, hits upon a place, Vayalen Sham, and he goes to sleep there. Ki va hashemesh. Ki va hashemesh, we would say the sun went down, would be our translation of that. The rabbis are very interested in those words and say that rather than ki and va being separate words, they say let's put them together, kiva. And if you know Hebrew, kiba is the past tense of the verb lichabot, which means to extinguish. And so the rabbis read this, that Jacob went to sleep there because God extinguished the sun. That the sun went down early on Jacob. And what is this place? This unnamed place where Jacob hits upon. The rabbis tell us that that's where Ma'ariv was invented, because the word lifgoa, vayifga, is used in another place to refer to prayer as a synonym for prayer. What is this place where Jacob prayed for the first time? Well, it's the same word as is used in another part of the Torah, teaches the Kli Yakar. When we hear it said in the description in the Akedah about Avraham, Vayar et hamakom merachok, that Avraham saw the place from afar. The place. So the rabbis say it's called the place in each of the stories, so it must be the same place, which is Har HaMoriah, which is Mount Moriah. It's the place that the rabbis tell us not only where the Akedah took place, but where the foundation stone, the Even Shtiyah, the stone upon which the world was created, where that stone is. And the Kli Yakar goes on to say it's where all of the divine light, all of the Shefa in the world originates from that place. That's where Jacob prayed. He asked an interesting question. Why not give it a name? It's like, as I said to the group earlier this morning, it's like calling a restaurant the restaurant, or naming your dog dog. Why call this the place? Why not use its name? By this time, by the way, after the Akedah, it seems that Avraham had given a name. It was called Adonai Yireh Asher Yeramer Hayom Behar Adonai Yera'eh. It was called God Will See, because in that place God is seen. Very strange. Why is it called God Will See if it's a place where God is seen? Some of the answers about that is that it's two things. It's describing sort of one idea. This is a place where there's an encounter with God, where not only God sees us, but we see God. But why not give it a name? And one answer is that to give it a name is to diminish it. Place names, he explains, usually have to do with either the owner of the place or they tell you something about it. So I imagine, I don't know this for sure, but Elmo's restaurant must have been owned by Elmo, or I don't know. And top of the hill is at the top of the hill. It tells you where it is. But this was the place. To give it a name is to diminish the way in which it is mikomo shel olam. It's the place of the whole world. And I think part of what's being said and why this is important is because in the Jewish tradition, what we can't see is what's most important. What's invisible is more important than what's visible. Here's the place, but the place isn't important because of rocks or dirt. It's important because it's a place where God and human beings, where God and the Jewish people meet. And to give it a name would be to say we know exactly what that means when, of course, you can't know what that means. What does it mean, a place where God and people meet, where an invisible God meets limited, visible human beings? So what is invisible is what's most important. By the way, we say this with our words in the Kaddish. We say, Yitbarach, V'yishtabach, V'yipar, V'yitramam, V'yitnaseh. We use all of these adjectives to say how great God is, and then we say that God is Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. God is beyond any blessing or song that we can sing. Don't confuse the words with the essence. So why did this speak to me this week? Downstairs I gave this Dvar Torah, and before I did, a number of people, as upstairs, have wished me condolences on the death of my father. And I think that when we think about death and encounter death, one of the things that maybe can give hope is an affirmation that the part of ourselves that we see when someone dies is not all of them. You see the body, but you know that a person, when they are alive, is not just a body. It's their lessons, it's their love, it's their spirit. And so we affirm, and we hope, and we believe that when a person dies, we see visibly that body there, but we say that that's not all. In fact, that's not what's most important. It's not what was most important in the person that we mourn. It's not what's most important in the people who we love now. It's not what we see. It's what's invisible. It's what's beyond description. It's a place that's not about a place. It's a place which is every place. That's where Jacob learns to pray. That's where he's visited in a dream. It's a place that gives him hope and the strength to go on the long journey that is the week's Torah portion. May it give us strength and give us hope as well. Shabbat Shalom.